This is what we are trying to do, because the true one that's going to conduct the biochemical warfare on us in the next 10 years is Earth Mother. And you're going to see war like you ain't never seen before. Coastlines are going to disappear. You want biowarfare? You're going to get it. And here's what I'm going to say. Now, why do I say this? Well, let us stop for a moment and access the language we are being given to define the present moment of this crumbling paradigm. When we say biowarfare, what is implied? The word bio is Greek for life. The prefix denotes living things, biology, biographical. The definition of war is as follows: a state of open armed, often prolonged conflict carried on between nations, states, and parties. A condition of active antagonism or contention. To be in a state of hostility. This is where the earth is going. So when you hear the word of the media and the government state that there is a threat from biological warfare, a logical pairing of the two words would mean hostility, antagonism, or conflict with life. But the technical definition given by Webster is even more succinct. Biological warfare is warfare in which disease-producing microorganisms or organic biocides are used to destroy livestock, crops, and human life. There ain't a biological weapon created by man that's going to do the shit that the biological weapon created by nature is getting ready to do. It would appear that from the technical definition, the Caucasoid, by his very presence, and his very culture, his very mindset is toxic to our environment. What type of mind, what type of thought process, what type of psychotic dementia would conceive and implement methodical steps to turn aspects of life into weapons of death, except a diseased mind? Yes. In naturopathic medicine, the therapists work with the patient to help the body bring the disease to the surface. For the past 500 years, a disease within the human genetic strain has been slowly rising to the surface. And finally, in these last days of our present consciousness paradigm, we see him at last. Rejoice, brothers and sisters, our healing is at hand. The spirit body of man is in its final stages of healing during this time. We will witness trauma, catharsis, but we will be healed of this disease. He will be purged from the spiritual, genetic, atomic, and molecular fabric of material being. And why? Because he has now put out information that he can't have babies no more. Why is that? In the meantime, we are here as dream workers to examine the body human and learn from what it is that we see as the mistakes of ignorance and the aggrandizement of ego. Look carefully at this recessive's action, this white man, this recessive's action towards Nature Mother. 1, his campaigns of vaccination. 2, his contamination of the soil and thus our foods. 3, the torture and traumatization of innocent, gentle animal life. 4, mind, body, and soul control. I repeat, mind, body, and soul control through the church, government, and the education systems. 5, the systemic and purposeful dismantling and mutilation of that divine fabric of human life called the family and the community. 6, the contamination and pollution of the two most basic, essential things to human life, the air and the water. Plug this in for me, please, brother. Yes. And lastly, as we speak, the militarization. You took it out? You took this out. Let's push that up. Yeah. The militarization of outer space, the frequency wars being conducted on us to undermine and cripple higher consciousness, and the intent to alter the genetics of humanity to create a more docile and compliant slave. Is biological warfare new? No, sir. The earth has always been cleansing herself of organisms that are detrimental to her evolutionary imperatives, no matter how simple or complex. And this Caucasoid and his diseased being will be no different. the devastating consequences of this multi-psychotic, multi-leveled attack against the four living foundational sentinels of life, fire, air, water, and earth, will be the response of Nature Mother herself. The Earth Mother is in fact a living, breathing, consciously acting and reacting organism of cosmic intelligence that is also going through its own personal evolutionary consciousness. Oh, give the mic over there. Because it is alive and conscious, it not only acts but reacts to conditions that would threaten and destabilize her own harmony. When you have done something to the body of and its intelligence, atomic intelligence, cosmic intelligence that reacts to align you is under universal law. As your atomic intelligence is aligning you, you experience symptoms such as headaches, runny nose, palpitations, fever, chills, even skin eruptions or growths. At the present time, this is comparable to the symptomatic representations or stages experienced by this earth. The final combination of psychic traumas, wars, suffering, cruelty, echo rape, and other heinous crimes and violations against both man and planet have become chronic. Brothers and sisters, we have now entered the time of the great dying. Let me repeat that. We have entered the time of the great dying, as predicted by our ancestors. You see, because we are in the final stages of this paradigm, the light that once fed and sustained its existence is rapidly fading. Let me say that again. There is a light that surrounds our planet, and there's a light that surrounds you. There are certain people that do certain kinds of works that automatically causes their light to become amplified.
Teach it, brother. Teach it.
That energy is leaving, and this planet is slowly getting darker and darker. Give big up to my two seeds, my son and my daughter over there. That's my future.
Right. Yes, sir.
Understand that who you are, the more you encompass light, the more you affect the people and circumstances around you. If you go to work where you got dull-ass people, you can feel how different you are because your light automatically shows you the difference. People who know what effects that they have to other people around them have a tendency to affect people in such a way that those people hate you because you agitate a cleansing in them. You cause them to want to go shit. You cause them headaches, and they don't know why. But you are working their nerves just by your presence.
Absolutely.
And just as equally, when somebody who's fucked up, dead, a succubus, drone, zombie motherfucker, you can tell. Because when you stand next to them, you start getting sleepy. And you don't want to talk. Your voice start getting dribbled and shit. It's like a vampire sucking on your neck. Well, I'm saying that to tell you this, that those people who are of the light, they're leaving us. All these mass deaths are people who carry specific lights, and the earth is getting darker and darker. Those of you who have synchronized yourselves with that light, those of you who have become addicted to the spasmodic energies emanated by its death throes, will also find yourselves losing your light. The more light that fades, the more light that leaves, the more evil that crystallizes. This is why it sometimes appears to the light workers and dream walkers as if nothing is changing, despite their hard and dedicated efforts. All of this is due to the fact that the source of this retrograde paradigm, its life essence, its light essence, is dissipating. Remember, the paradigm that we're living in is a conscious light that you feed from and then feed into. The light from the dead paradigm has no more life in it. It's like sucking on the bottom of a soda bottle trying to get that last bit of soda that's off in the corner. There's nothing left of this dead-ass paradigm. There's nothing left of religion. There's nothing left of politics. There's nothing left of education. So the more you suck on that shit, the more dead you become. The weaker you become. You cannot feed your light in church. I don't give a damn how much you excuse. Oh, you know, they got a few things in there that you may want to go. Bullshit! All of them are vampires. You cannot go to church and find your light. In fact, that's where it's being sucked on. Why you think that dead-ass man, white man on the cross there, how you think he keeps being alive? Because spiritually, when you walk in that place, he's sucking your life force. Anybody ever see that flick, Life Force?
Yes.
Check that flick. Check Life Force. Now, what's left are the burning embers. And those who have sustained themselves on it are scrambling in their spiritual death throes to feed on what's left. We, on the other side, must identify ourselves with the new incoming light source, the new code for atomic and molecular consciousness. This particular light life source feels faint, but it is strong, like the sun on the days after the winter solstice. It's cold, but it's still bright. There is another light source that is feeding those who have amplified their personal power. Once you throw away all of this classicistic bullshit, stand naked. That's a ritual for everybody to do. Go in front of your mirror and stand naked. See what you look like when you first came out. Right. Without all the trappings. Take out your earrings and everything that put the personality of you in this moment. Because you have to strip yourself of everything that you have become before you can make the crossing. You cannot be quickened with old shit attached to you. Don't grab the TV when we switch, because you see, you're going to see different indications of the switch of the new paradigm. What's going to happen? Shit's going to fade in from the other side, and it's going to be floating in the air. You're going to say, oh shit, what's that? I ain't even high. Don't touch those things that are fading in from fourth and fifth, because your body is so polluted that if you touch it, you'll be pulled in with that shit, and you ain't ready for the other side. Know that you are transiting, and there's times when even at your highest peak, you're gonna be forgetting shit. It's like, oh man, what was I just doing? Those of us who are transiting don't have memory of this time or anything that's acquainted with it. We're losing the memory of this time because the memory is based on the light that was fed from the old paradigm. If the old paradigm is going, then all the shit attached to it is going.
That's right.
So stop worrying about your memory and thinking you're getting Alzheimer's. In fact, Alzheimer's is an indication, the fact that it's rising is an indication of just how dead the paradigm is becoming. Because the light source necessary for logical thinking, gone. And that's exactly what the education system, what religion, and all that shit does to you. Just because you got a whole lot of facts in your head, don't mean you ain't Alzheimer. Just because you're going to sit before a professor who look like he know his shit, don't mean he ain't Alzheimer. Because he got a bunch of dead facts in his head. At this time, people like ourselves represent a skeleton crew. This is a skeleton crew, left behind to act as the receptors for the incoming paradigm, to guide those who are yet to awaken, those who are yet to be born into this new frequency harmonic. Truth be told, the Galactic Confederation is at this time seriously considering the merits of even keeping this planet in its present location, whether to just destroy the shit or move it, because its proximity to other neighboring and overlapping dimensions and harmonics is polluting them with all of the disruptive and discordant thoughts based on hate, fear, egocentrism. The first pollution is thought pollution. And the atmosphere around thought pollution must be stinking to those who are in higher realms. And every time we cycle, remember, just think about the fact that in our sun, and we're moving around our sun, but our sun is moving around something else. And that we are moving in, and that when we moved into that meteor shower, the meteor shower was coming here, we moved into it as it was passing this way. So the whole solar system is moving into a whole other position where all of the thought processes that created what it is that we are now trapped in today are dying. By the year 2007, or maybe even sooner, indications of just how sick and disgusting our planet has become in its psychic fabric will begin to become evident. You, my brothers and sisters, will begin to see the symptoms of our diseased planet manifesting on the surface in the form of unique, never before identified funguses and mosses. Listen to me carefully. They will begin to anchor themselves first in our forests, then in our foods, and then on our skins. As all mosses and fungi are creatures that manifest in darkness, their appearances will be more than symbolic of the fact that the Earth Mother is losing her light. Listen carefully. You're going to find mosses growing in places where moss never grew before. Once these new life forms take hold, they will mutate according to the psychic conditions that presently prevail on the planet, and thus form an intelligence of their own. Listen carefully. This will obviously be a disaster to all the vegetation, as well as to the lower animal life forms, and eventually up the food chain to humanity itself. There will be no medical quote-unquote cure. Tens of millions will die. These funguses will look like spider webs, and they may very well be life forms that were created. They mutated once brought into contact with this ecosystem. They are the children of the cloudless clouds of death. In fact, over the past 7 to 8 decades, biologists, anthropologists, and environmentalists have been discovering animals in the wilds who have been mutated in their forms. These are the advance guard to many breeds of new life forms that are due to appear. New life forms for new Earth situations. The metaphysical consequences of our planet in the wake of all this thought-based madness engulfing our planet is that discordant, resonating energy configurations or vibrating templates which are acting as portals are allowing certain life forms, certain etheric life forms that exist on peripheral dimensions to enter into this realm. These etheric life forms are finding entrance through resonating genetic pathways into physicality. Let me say that again. They are finding their way through resonating genetic pathways into physicality. They have the ability to do this due to the diminished light envelope decaying around our planet. Just as you feel that a fly or bugs or what's them things? Maggots form around dead things? Well, that's what's happening consciously. Consciously, on the metaphysical realm, on the etheric realm, we have maggots forming around this planet, and they are life forms that are yet to manifest, and these are the life forms that represent just how dead our spirituality is. Most of these new organisms will be created by the joint effort of a psychotic scientific oligarchy and the ulcers that form in our planetary light field as a result. This extra-dimensional etheric life forms are low-energy life forms, parasitic in nature, attracted to our own ulcerated spiritual resonance. The same way that flies and mosquitoes are attracted by filth, decay, and the stench of stagnant water. Now, I hope I've whetted your appetite, because before I review and expound upon my last seminar, 9/11, I would like to touch upon another aspect of biowarfare that the victims who participate willingly in, and that's the use of cellular phones.
Break it down.
My brothers and sisters, first realize that the cellular phone is broadcasted on theta wave bands. They found out that the theta wave band is what thought, that's the band that thought uses when you think. The reason why they found that out is because you used to have something called UHF and UHV, VHF. When you switched to that, people would call and complain of hearing, when they're not in the room or when they're outside, stations going off in their head. When the theta wave band is being used, it is being synchronized with the same band that thought uses to communicate to itself. So you think that it is coincidental that they got rid of the theta wave band and put it on the cellular phone band? Now I know that cell phones have become as necessary as breathing to some of you guys. And if your work is about competition and time sensitivity, it's mandatory. So I think I should at least let you know what's happening to you each time you use one. As you know, the cell phone transmits a microwave signal in intermittent bursts from its antenna to a relay station. Sometimes these relay stations are many miles away. The farther the phone is from the tower, or if your phone is in a car, if your phone is in a building or in an elevator, the more power your phone is told by the tower to send out in order to keep you connected. Check that. The tower tells the phone, boost more power when you're indoors. Now, depending on how close your cellular antenna is to you, you should be aware that as much as 60% of the microwave radiation penetrates your head and is actually absorbed by your brain tissue. 60% of a it's like putting your head in a microwave oven.
Every time.
When a good cell phone is in operation, its intermittent signals can cause visible disturbances to a computer. And you will see it on the screen, depending on the proximity you are to that computer. It is a biological weapon of the most insidious kind because it quietly induces incurable diseases that are presumed to be genetic or of unknown origin. We don't know what happened to him. Diseases that will not be detected for a considerable period of time, like cancers, tumors, infertility, so-called suppressed immune disorders, and significant DNA damage. On September 5th, 2001, the London Independent announced a study by Lenhart Hardell, a cancer specialist at Örebro University in Sweden, to be published sometime before the end of this year, showing that the use of mobile telephones for more than 5 years were 26% more likely, and using them 10 years or more made you 77% more likely to develop significant sized brain tumors. And get this, the tumors were 2.5% or times likely to be on the same side of the head that the phone was usually held. Now, in keeping with the above and the topic of wave pollution, from microwave pollution to sound pollution, toxic sound, especially with sudden loud noises, machines, traffic lights, traffic, dogs barking, toxic music, which create a reaction like anger or anxiety, restlessness or annoyance, makes that noise toxic to your system. Toxic sounds interfere with your body's natural bioelectric rhythms. This can lead to disease and entropy, insomnia, paranoia, eating disorders, learning disorders, chemical imbalances, and disruptive behaviorism. On the subject of toxic music, the 4 elements have a voice. Together they constitute the W-O-R-D, or the voice of God. Ocean waves roll to the pulse of water with harmonic tones that resonate through the entire sound system and spectrum, creating a soothing blend. Dolphins and whales sing out messages with voices that reverberate our planet's frequencies. Birds sing their melodies in tune with subsonic tones carried by the breeze. We as humans laugh, cry, talk, cough, and sneeze in tones that reflect the physical and emotional conditions of our bodies. Check?
Check.
From the time of the so-called Industrial Revolution, our natural world has become more and more estranged from us. Noise pollution became an accepted term as we gave into the onslaught of fast-paced living. Slowly, we became numb to the awareness of nature and natural sounds. Now, the woods frightens the shit out of us. More and more houses have complex networks of electromagnetic wiring and inaudible electromagnetic fields zapping us without our knowledge. Some people living near power lines, exposed to 60 cycle hums of electricity, eventually become accustomed to that sound, oblivious to the detriment to their own health. Besides our ears, our body feels sound and noise as vibrations. And all vibrations are rhythms of life. Let me say that again. All vibrations are rhythms of life. Our heartbeat, our breathing, the way we blink our eyes, even the way you register the sound of my voice and the pacing of my words as I speak to you, all are done in rhythms that correspond to our body's vibratory flow. Our bodies are interactive vibratory transponders resonating, like Stevie says, in the key of life. So, sound is a biowarfare weapon, and it is most definitely deployed against the population in commercials, against our children in the music, the movies, and very subtly in the children's programming as well. Books that you need to read to check this out. Form, Sound, Color, and Healing by Theo Kimball. Music, the Keynote of Human Evolution by Corinne Helene. Sound Medicine by Laine Garfield. And Vibrations by Virginia McIvor and Sandra LaForest. Sound, and I'm speaking to the young brothers and sisters here, sound is a weapon. That is why they colonized your music. The music was a weapon. And as I said earlier, they changed our rhythms to a 4/4 beat, took it out of the heart synchronization. But you see what was so beautiful about it is that our rap brothers, it's not a rap, our hip-hop brothers and sisters who were speaking the mathematics, when they gave you the 4/4 beat to synchronize you, you went into your genetic archives and came out with rhythms in your rhymes that counteracted that toxic type of beat. So when you rap in syncopations.
Yes.
That Miles used. You rap in syncopations that Bird used. And that's why I say to the young brothers and sisters to listen to the ancient African classical music that they call jazz. Because in it, it will unlock something inside of you that keeps you apace, synchronizes your heart back to its actual beat, the beat of health, the beat of spirituality. Now those of you who are ready to hear about 911 update, I'm telling you, brothers and sisters, you ain't heard from one house nigga yet.
That's true. That's right. That's a fact.
That tells you just how important they were and just what their job really is when shit hits the fan. Nigga, sit down. We'll call you when we need you. Okay, we done shot a brother in there. All right, nigga, go in there and tell him Phil niggas, you know, everything gonna be all right. I have a question. What was Al Sharpton doing in Israel?
What was he doing talking to Kishner, too? Henry Kishner.
I just want to know, because you know he's getting ready to run for president.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Oh, yeah. Well, I was just curious. I just want to ask everybody there. Maybe, you know, I don't know. I just want to know. I figured, you know.
Kissing ass.
Kissing ass, yeah. We introduced you to a book called The Talmud Unmasked. The Talmud Unmasked has some very revealing things about what Zionist Jews think about Christians slash niggas. There is a book that talks about the connection between the Nazis and the Zionists, called Zionist Relations with Nazi Germany. I had that book for like 15 years. In it, it speaks about the fact that the Zionists aligned themselves with every anti-Semitic, anti-Jewish organization they can. They say, give us the money, we'll take care of your Jewish problem. Sitting back, allowing the quote-unquote Holocaust to happen. But you see, there's things going on about Jews that you don't know about. We don't know about. And there's some things that we got to look at before anything, so that we can get a better understanding of what's really going on and why. Now, "911," like my boy Flavor Flav said, is a damn joke. And he's right. Because they played us sweetly. And they played us for a long time. Set us up real quiet because what was happening? Well, a lot of shit was happening. There was an event that took place. Turn the light on. In Germany, February 27th, 1933. What happened? The Reichstag fire. What was the Reichstag fire? The Reichstag fire, first of all, the Reichstag was the symbol of German power. German power that essentially was on the way back. Hitler and Goebbels burnt the motherfucker down. Set it on fire. How'd they do it? They entered into the basement through Goebbels' side apartment in the basement, torched the place. And at that time, Hitler owned a newspaper. Hurried back to his newspaper and wrote the story that the communists had burnt down the Reichstag and that we better get ready and start turning this place out. Start killing us some commies. And that's just what happened. Fast forward. Kaboom! And what got to my popcorn. I was calling my boys. I was saying, shit, yeah. Yeah. But then there's people around the country calling me up, what we gonna do?
We gonna do it.
We.
Remind me of that shit now. Don't matter what we doing. We sick. Man says we sick. Man says we this. What we gonna do? Nigga, what you gonna do? What you gonna do? You gonna leave your house and then what? Do what? You know, like, where you been? Ladies and gentlemen, that's your water. Why don't you come up and take a look at what you're bathing in and what you're drinking? Not now. What did the Reichstag fire at that time, huh? What did the Reichstag fire accomplish? The results of the Reichstag fire were as follows. As a result of the Reichstag fire, President Hindenburg and Chancellor Hitler immediately invoked Article 48 of the Weimar Constitution, which permitted the suspension of civil liberties in time of national emergency. The decree of the Reich President for the protection of the people and the state effectively ruled against the following. Somebody read it for me.
Freedom of the press, freedom of right of assembly and association, right to privacy of postal and electronic communications, protection against unlawful searches and seizures, individual property rights, states' right to self-government.
Now! Y'all went to school. Good. First of all, let's get a little history on your president and his daddy and his granddaddy.
Break it down.
Mr. Prescott Bush was the representative, banker, and money launderer for the Third Reich here in the United States. Prescott Bush was the representative for investing the monies of the Third Reich and personally Hitler, but of the Third Reich. They took the money from the Third Reich and they invested it for Hitler.
That's right.
Now, here's the fun part about it. Hitler in his speeches said, "A new world order!"
Right? Break it.
Remember?
Break it down.
Prescott Bush was the first senator to speak about a new world order before the United States Congress. Then what happened? His son said the same words. But y'all didn't catch the clue. Now you know when he stole that goddamn election.
Yeah.
You knew what was going to happen?
That's right.
You were sitting here and I told you, oh, you got a new president. Get ready for war. W's here. Get ready for war. Now, funny as it seems, FEMA set up something in 1997.
World Trade Center. World Trade Center.
Break it down, bro.
World Trade Center, yeah. That was the hit.
They released
Yeah. World Trade Center.
this document
Go ahead.
with this goddamn cover.
That's right. World Trade Center, yeah.
They keep giving you clues. Emergency response to terrorism, a what?
Self-study.
So look at, I mean, all of the English teachers in the house. If it's a self-study, they are actually telling you what they are getting ready to do. And look where they put the target. At the South Tower first. Or the North Tower first. Because that's the South Tower. If you're looking at it when they hit, the bad boy came from around here. And look where he hit.
Bullseye.
Bullseye.
We told you, and you probably didn't believe. Nah, y'all believe. That wasn't nobody hijacking the damn plane. Because there ain't nobody, listen, somebody coming up in my damn plane with a box cutter or a plastic knife, I'm fucking him up. I am fucking him up. How in the hell you gonna take somebody over with a box cutter? How the hell you get on there with a box cutter? Nope. That's how it was done. Global Hawk technology. $737 stayed aloft 25 hours and landed in Australia on its maiden flight. The reason why they shot down the plane was because, and they told you that they didn't, was because the Global Hawk technology would have been discovered. And how is it that if ain't nobody survived, 12 hours later they had a list of 19 suspects? Because the 19 suspects they already had. 2 of them walked in, one walked into the damn American consulate and said, what the fuck is my face and my name going up there as a suspect? 2 of them were dead already. 5 years ago. We all know the story. But the Global Hawk technology, and when we had the tape, we showed you that it had to have been somebody remote piloting the plane, because the second plane that hit looked like it was going off the mark, and it suddenly made an adjustment. Remember? And you ever flew a, what do you call a jet? You know your shit's gonna hit a tree? Global Hawk technology was what was used. And those pilots did not know what was happening to the plane at the time. All right? You worried about who it is that all this is about? See, quiet as kept, you don't know what England is doing inside of all this mess. But it's England and the United States that just somehow feels like they need to get together, you know, to punish terrorism. But see, the Afghanistan, them some bad motherfuckers. They call Afghanistan the graveyard of conquerors. Because ain't nobody ever conquered Afghanistan. And the last time that England went in there to start some shit, 19,000 of them got slaughtered. The only motherfucker was alive was the doctor who lived back. And some caravan found his tired ass and brought him back. But that was the great story of the Khyber Pass. Got his ass kicked, and England ain't forgot that shit. You are sleeping. What is happening around your boy Tony Blair? But I'm going to give you some lessons here today, and I know my brothers from the Moorish temple, we ought to have a good time together. I want you to look at that. Last time, you remember, we were speaking about the fact that the Talmud was a book that broke down specific actions and laws that the true Jew must follow. So the precepts of the Talmud, in chapter 2, there is a specific chapter on how Jews must deal with Christians. And it's all leading. We got a little time now, we can get into it. Chapter 2. Christians must be exterminated. Christians must be exterminated. Hey, I'm not arguing. Christians must be harmed in things that are necessary for life. Christians, all Christians, including the best of them, are to be killed. The best of them. Let's run down from some law. The name of the polity as the United Snakes of America, Article 1 in this appeal, swears asserted that the United States did not exist at the time of the offense, but this case was prosecuted under the laws of the courts of Pennsylvania in 1779, not under the United States, under the articles, despite the case report being included in what was to become the Supreme Court reports. All the opinions held was that the United States existed by mutual association without the need for any mutual corporate charter, just as the British monarch and the Parliament did. We will eventually have this and other early issues online. I want you to get the online. It has to do with Avalon. There's over 200 or 300 pages in it. Listen to this. Although we may disagree with a couple of conclusions in this article, the bulk of this article is quite factual and will be an eye-opener for most who take the time to read it. For those of you who wish to dig into it a little bit more, there's a great site, you check it out, called the Avalon Project. It's at Yale University. Slaveholder Yale. Slave Yale. Skull and bones. Listen carefully. Let us not forget the absolute astonishing amount of debt discharges that have taken place over the last few months. What is happening in America is unbelievable. People are coming out of the delusions. They have figured and realized the United Snakes is a fiction and that it only exists in our minds. Tens of thousands of people now know that the United Snakes does not exist and that it never has. There is no such thing as the national debt or a loan from the bank. Has anyone ever seen current credit money? The entire government system only exists in your mind. Queen Elizabeth controls and has amended the U.S. Social Security Act as follows. Queen Elizabeth has amended the Social Security Act, made the 22nd of July, 1997, coming into force 1st September 1997. At the court at Buckingham Palace on 22nd day of July, 1997. Now, Therefore, Her Majesty, in pursuance of Section 179, 1A and 2 of the Social Security Administration Act of 1992 and all other powers enabling her in that behalf, is pleased, by and with advice of her Privy Council, to order, and it is hereby ordered, as follows. This order may be cited as the Social Security United States of America Order of 1997 and shall come into force on 1st September 1997. Does this give a new meaning to the federal Judge William Wayne, Justice, stating in court that he takes his orders from England? This order goes on to redefine words in the Social Security Act and makes some changes in the United States law. Remember, King George was the arch-treasurer and prince-elector of the Holy Roman Empire and of the United Snakes of America. See the Treaty of Peace in 1738. 8 U.S. statutes at large. Great Britain, which is the agent. Hold on. Let's see it again. What does it say? The agent for the Pope is in charge of the USA plantation. What people do not know is that the so-called founding fathers and King George were working hand in hand to bring the people of America to their knees. To install a central government over them and to bind them to a debt that they could not pay off. First off, you have to understand that the United States is a corporation and that it existed before the Revolutionary War. See the Republica versus Swears, they got the sites for you to go check. Versus Swears, Dallas 4328 USC 300315. Now, you also have to realize that King George was not just the King of England, but also at that time the King of France. See the Treaty of Peace. On January 22nd, 1783, Congress ratified a contract for the repayment of 21 loans that the United States had already received dating from February 28, 1778 to July 5th, 1782. Now, the United States, Inc. owes the king money, which is due January 1st, 1788, from King George via France. Is this not incredible that the king funded both sides of the war? But there was more work that needed to be done. Now the Articles of Confederation, which was declared in force March 1st, 1781, states in Article 12, quote, all bills of credit emitted, monies borrowed, and debts contracted by or under the authority of Congress before the assembling of the United States in pursuance of the present Confederation shall be deemed and considered a charge against the United States for the payment and satisfaction whereof the said United States and the public faith are thereby solemnly pledged. Now, after losing the Revolutionary War, even though the war was nothing more than a move to turn the people into debtors for the king, they were not done yet. Now the loans were coming due, and so a meeting was convened in Annapolis, Maryland, to discuss the economic instability of the country under the Articles of Confederation. Only 5 states came to the meeting, but there is a call for another meeting to take place in Philadelphia the following year with the express purpose of revisiting the Articles of Confederation. On February 21st, 1787, Congress gave approval to the meeting to take place in Philadelphia, May 14, 1787, to revise the Articles of Confederation. Something had to be done about the mounting debt. Does that sound familiar? Little did the people know that the so-called founding